master gardeners, Kim Haynes and Sandy Niblo. Nice to see you both.
Hi,
see
nice
you.
to be here.
Yes, I have a lot of respect for gardeners because I'm not one, and I know it's not as easy as you sometimes make it look.
Well, I think sometimes we make it harder in our heads than what it really is too. So on the flip side of that, it is fun to do.
Cold, icy day, having you here means spring can't be too far off.
Yeah, we already have some things going on in terms of our Master Gardener Club. I mean, we do meet monthly, but we've been planning, and Sandy is really our chair for the spring conference, which is coming up. The first event that we do is in March. We team up with Dahlem, and we help them with their maple sugaring. Actually, people from outside of our club or any other club can volunteer to take people through the maple sugaring process. So that is kind of the first thing that we do. In terms of an activity.
Yeah, and they also have a time of teaching everyone, and that is coming up February 12th, that you can go to Dahlem, and you would have to contact Carrie at Dahlem to sign up for that teaching so that you can help with the
maple sugaring,
maple syruping.
And you, as an organization, you're all about service. You donate, you take care of things, you volunteer. It's a pretty...
We tend to cooperate with a lot of nonprofits in terms of beautifying their properties or providing education. So our biggest education event is the spring conference.
Is our spring conference, and that is coming up in April 5th. Last year it was a big success, and our goal is to educate the public and ourselves on different topics. Last year, speakers presented on invasive species, restoring land to original prairie and native plants, and how using native plants impact our environments. And this year, our conference, we're going to have 3 speakers, and one is Paul Pfeiffer, that you may know from Hidden Lake Gardens, and he's the managing director there, and he'll talk about propagation program that they have there and its purpose, and how the Hidden Lake Gardens came to be. Then we have Jim McGrath. He's the founder of Nature Discovery, and Jim will talk about diversity of animal and plant life around us and how to sustain that environment. And for instance, I'll just give one example, is that we didn't used to have seawalls, right? That everyone just had natural landscapes, and then we all decided we had to have a seawall. Well, what we did with seawalls is prevent some of our amphibians from their natural habitat, because turtles have to get out of that lake and get up to land to lay their eggs.
Turtles
as well
can't
as
climb seawalls.
they cannot climb seawalls. So what do we do in a case like that when there's, when we've got something that we've disrupted that environment, and how do we partner with that seawall? And so he's going to speak on that type of topic. The last person we have is Scott Stokes, and he's one of the former owners of Southern Exposure Herb Garden or Herb Farm. And Scott will talk about pizza gardening, companion planting, and composting, and much more. We'll have vendors, door prizes, and a silent auction. So April 5th.
All right, get registered for that.
Yes.
Now let's go through the rest of the year, because that's one of, what, half a dozen things you do?
So
Those are events.
what we do is we have projects and events. And so we have like 39 different projects.
Wow.
And as we had mentioned, the first one was the maple sugaring that we participate. We count the conference as a project. Our biggest educational project is actually the children's garden out at Dahlem.
Okay.
So we are responsible for preparing the beds, weeding the beds, putting educational signs out. So that takes place starting in April all the way through October. So that's kind of our signature thing is
An
for our
ongoing
club.
that everyone can enjoy.
Ongoing.
Everyone can enjoy, and everyone can come and help us if they want to help with the gardens there as well. what are the times that's going to start?
So
in-
typically we are out there Monday afternoons from 1:30 to 3:30.
Mhm.
And
you-
then,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, then the next big thing that we have coming up is a joint, what we call the garden event. And that is with the Men's Garden Club of Jackson, the Women's Garden Club, Jackson County Conservation District, and then, I don't know if you know Vince St. Marie, but he's a native plant provider. And we
Yeah.
all get together and have a plant sale at the fairgrounds. So that'll be coming up May 17th. And
And there's some,
There it
here's
is.
some of the,
Yeah.
plants that we have. Then April, we have another event, and that is Earth Day. Now, we don't put this on, the Jackson Conservation District puts that on at Cascades Park, but we have a presence there with a booth every year. And there we give out seed packets to families, and they get to pick the seeds, whether it be for the garden, whether a
Vegetables,
vegetable or a
flowers.
flower,
Oh, cool.
whatever they'd like to do. We also have always had pansies with dirt for the kids to get their hands on, or adults. We've had a lot of adults that have wanted to get in there and plant themselves a little something in that soil.
Sandy, what's your plant specialty?
What's my plant specialty? I would say I'm not so much a garden person with vegetables, but I love flowers.
Okay.
I like to do a lot of different, and I came to love more native perennials and plants.
Do you have a specialty, Kim?
well, we're doing that same thing as because we are in a shaded area in Jackson, we do a lot of native shade plants, but we are doing a lot of native plants. And that's what is kind of nice about the garden event or the plant sale, is that there's plants that are native, there's plants that are more, traditional daylilies, which aren't, that are brought there for people to go through and pick and ask questions.
Like the hostas.
Like the hostas, yeah, like
Yeah.
the picture we saw.
Now, the garden tour, you guys are part of that too, right?
Yes, the garden tour is a big event for us, and we put that on every 2 years. And 2 years ago, we had a great outpouring of people that came. That was specifically in the Jackson area. This year, it's going to be in the Brooklyn, Clark Lake, and Napoleon area. And we have 6 gardens that we're going to that are going to be shown that people can go to. John Blair, who you met last year maybe with his restoration of part of his land being turned back into
Yeah, I
remember
Savannah
him.
Prairie,
Yeah.
That's his garden.
is
right
one
there.
of the gardens. Sandy Wilkins, I don't know if you know her, but she's from Fox Farm, who has a majestic landscape of hostas, perennials, and statues from all over. And her gardens are like John's. They're wonderful to see. Then I have my garden that I'm going to have there, and it's very down to earth, and anyone can draw inspiration from and utilize some of my concepts. I always say business in the front and party in the back, and the garden shed has a Hoosier cabinet, and that speaks times of past, and it's my quiet place. I've raised garden beds that meet and blend the flowers and shrubs around it. Fairy gardens are tucked in and blended into the background. You just have to meander from garden to garden to find your favorite flower group. We all have a style, I believe, and I like mine to reflect me. And I know if I went to Kim's house, I would see Kim and her husband and everything that they do. And I think that's the fun
Sure.
thing of gardening, is that you really pull out who you are
And
when
so,
you garden.
so the gardens on our tours aren't just master gardeners. They're gardens that people have identified as, oh wow, that is a garden that I really like to get into and experience. So we have gardens from all over.
All over, yes, yes. And then last in August, that's usually our last event. And we don't put the event on because it's Birds,
Dahlem.
Blooms, and
Butterflies out at
Festival at Dahlem, but we have a booth there. And
And that's going to be, I believe, August 9th this year.
Yeah, that's
So,
been a long-running event, which I'm hoping to add, hope you guys will consider adding blueberries because it just flows.
Well, no. I want them to add bees
Bees,
because
okay.
we're beekeepers. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thanks
like
for
that.
coming in. A lot of
Oh,
cool
yeah.
things you guys are doing. Keep up the great work. Keep doing all that you do to
Well, thank
beautify
you.
our community.
Thank you.
Good to see you both. Kim
All
Haynes
right.
and Sandy Niblo,
Nice
Master
to meet
Gardeners
you.
from
Thank
Jackson
you.
County Master Gardeners. We're out of time. Thanks to everybody with us on our show today. Thanks to our great crew and all our wonderful sponsors. Don't forget, high school basketball Friday, Columbia Central against